I'm going to let you know that Immanuel Quickley is one bad season like this one away from becoming a toxic asset. Welcome to Amateur Hour Answers. This is a new series in the channel where I read your comments and react to them. If you want something featured on next week's episode, then make sure you comment something down below. And while you're there, leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more Toronto Raptors content just like this. Trying to make this a weekly series here, so let's try and keep things going in a rare glasses on appearance for the video today. But yes, full comment here. Let's actually read it. This one is from Ant Shack 1. Bro, you know that our biggest win streak was with Davion as our starting point guard, right? Give the man his flowers when he deserves it. I understand, though, everyone was checked out this season. So first part we'll answer on Davion Mitchell, extending this topic for another week here or so. That 5-game win streak the Raptors won. Yes, Davion Mitchell was a starting point guard for that 5-game win streak. Pretty light pocket of the schedule. You beat Atlanta twice. Granted, somewhat impressive, and then wins over the Pelicans, who are horrendous, and the Wizards, who are horrendous. But hey, Davion Mitchell played well in those games. I don't think they won 5 games in a row because of Davion Mitchell necessarily, but I covered it all. Davion Mitchell wasn't that good when he was on the Raptors. The Raptors could not afford him at the end of the season, so it made sense to trade him. And as far as giving his flowers, I have literally done nothing but give him his flowers for how well he's playing with the Miami Heat. So yes, he's playing well with Miami. The Raptors couldn't afford him. It made sense to trade him. But this second part here, my goodness. I'm going to let you know that Immanuel Quickley is one bad season, like this one, to becoming a toxic asset. I really don't understand the hate for Immanuel Quickley. Basically, Immanuel Quickley is only getting hate because he got injured this season. And everyone's complaining how injury prone he is. Immanuel Quickley has never been injury prone ever in his basketball. This is the first year he's ever really dealt with injuries. This is the first year he's ever really dealt with injuries in his entire NBA career to date. And he still, statistically was pretty good. People were hyping him up after last season with the Raptors, his half season with the Raptors. His per 36 numbers, because his minutes were down this year because of the tank, his per 36 numbers were maybe even slightly better than last year's with the Raptors. Just counting his time with the Raptors, not counting his time with the New York Knicks. His efficiency dropped a little bit this season, but he was dealing with injuries. And when he was healthy, near the end of the season, he was playing really well. He was Raptors' top scorer in March. He had a fine season. Was it maybe slightly underwhelming to expectations after the big contract? Maybe, but Immanuel Quickley was fine. I definitely won't go as far as to label him a toxic asset. What would actually be a toxic asset needs to be somebody that literally brings down his teammates. He makes his team worse, and completely utterly disagree with Immanuel Quickley even sniffing the term toxic asset. But Immanuel Quickley got injured. Yes, it wasn't his fault. He has never had injury problems in the past. He has no history of injury problems, and he had a pretty good season statistically, if you were to look. So yeah, I don't agree with this one here. Next one, this comes from Shannon Ferguson 3029. Now, if you recall this username, this is actually the username who led off the previous episode in this series, the first one that we did, and I really appreciate Shannon coming through and re-upping, re-explaining their position. So we'll feature them again in this one here, saying, I appreciate your perspective. I think the best way to grow is in an environment that prioritizes winning. This was in response to the original comment from Shannon said that it's been 2 years wasted for Barnes and Barret, which I didn't really understand because I thought they had developed, but reading the rest of the comment, this is why they feel as though it was wasted for RJ. RJ's played to win everywhere he's been. He was 20 years old when he helped the Knicks make the 4th seed, 22 when he was a second option in the 2023 playoffs, helped Canada win bronze in the World Cup, and make the Olympics, Elite 8 at Duke, FIBA Gold at 17. The losing on purpose while other players their ages are impacting in the postseason picture is a travesty, in my opinion. They're too good to be part of a team with this mindset and approach. So if they were too good to be part of a team with this mindset and approach, they would have made the playoffs because they would have put this team into the playoff picture. They weren't good enough to put this team into the playoffs. Maybe they could have propelled them into the play-in tournament. They're probably good enough to do that if they had tried the entire season, but if this team was good enough to, be competing in the playoffs, they'd be there competing in the playoffs right now. That's my perspective with it. And amidst this wasted couple of years, RJ Barrett to me has developed. And you know what? If you're in the NBA, you have been winning your entire life. There are no bad players in the NBA. Relative to other NBA players, there are scrubs, sure. But everybody's in the NBA is elite. And everywhere these players have been in their life, they have been on really good teams because they have been on it. So everybody who comes to the NBA only has experiences with winning. Maybe not quite to the degree necessarily of RJ Barrett, but this is the reality when you come into the league. There are bad teams, and despite that, you can still improve yourself. And other people point out in the comment section that he has been improving as well. Winner One here, who is a frequent watcher of the streams, thank you for the comment here, says, RJ been doing what the Knicks wanted from him, which he didn't produce in New York. So I don't know why people are hating on RJ. He improved in Toronto. I very much agree. He has transformed his game. I thought that he was a poor asset to take on when the Raptors traded for him. I understood why they took him on, and there was a possibility of development. I did not foresee this degree of development for the player, which has been very, very impressive from him. And more people want to point this out. We have at Dirt Slayer 123 saying RJ took a huge step, mostly around the mentality of attacking the rim. Something I'd like to see more from Scottie. Scottie having hand issues, very difficult. So he has learned to play hurt. But aside from that, Scottie's demeanor as well progressed. So this is kind of like bringing this up because Shannon Ferguson was talking about how it was a wasted couple of years for Scottie and RJ. So this one kind of brings Scottie into it as well. I think the wasted take is not a good one. We know that. We played so many experimental lineups. The whole year was not a waste. It was an experiment. Progress is not linear. We still haven't seen Quickley cook the way he can, and we know he can. So, yeah, I very much agree with this take here. There were a lot of steps that RJ Barrett made as a player, but Scottie Barnes also kind of took on a different level, and his demeanor did change this year. A couple of seasons ago, there were some... Well, issues is a big word to use because we weren't like that big of issue, but there were some things mixed in there for Barnes. It's kind of like, okay, you're about to sign a big contract. You're about to be the focal point, the leader of this team. We need a bit more. We need a bit better representation. I think we did get that this year, despite maybe a little bit of a drop off in play from Scottie Barnes, especially as like that focal point offensively. But I'm sure Scottie Barnes, despite that, like he got better in certain areas and he learned a lot about his games in the areas where he didn't quite succeed to the level that we thought. That alongside Quickley, we've already talked about in this video, like if Quickley continues to get better, like, yeah, we've got a pretty solid team to be working with here. So I don't consider these a waste as well, but good comment there. Next comment comes from SP.007. If everything stayed the same, I'd start Walter ahead of RJ. So this is in reference to what the projected lineup should be for next season. I think it would be Quickley, Barrett, Barnes, Ingram, and Pirtle. I just really am not there with Jacoby Walter. I mean, for anything, like especially this one here, you disagree with what I'm saying here. Let me know in the comments what you disagreed on. But for me, Jacoby Walter is just not far along enough to be in this position. Like RJ Barrett is a 21 point per game player. We know he's a very, very talented player. Jacoby Walter coming off a rookie season where he was like, look, the 35% shooting from three is good, but in other areas he just wasn't efficient enough to be on par with the other players in that starting five. Are there going to be some lineups where he's mixed in? I think so, and I hope so. But to put him in ahead of RJ Barrett at this stage, definitely am not there yet, and definitely don't want to make room. I don't think Jacoby Walter's ready to start. I like Jacoby Walter a lot. He's just not ready to start and take on that big of a role, especially over RJ Barrett. E-Tricks here says, we will not win anything if you think Scottie is the one. You all are delusional. So pointing out at me as well that, I think that the Raptors can succeed with Scottie Barnes as, maybe the top, the best player, maybe not the main scoring option, but the best player on the team. But, this is just the nature of kind of creating content here where I have people getting mad at me for both sides of an argument. So somebody's getting mad at me for thinking Scottie Barnes can be the best player on this team and that team can succeed, calling me delusional. And then this next comment here is mad at me for hating on Scottie Barnes. So I don't know what it is, but this one comes from M. Tavares 15. Very disappointed in Toronto Raptors podcasters and fans. The lack of faith in Barnes, despite his improvements in many aspects in his game over the years, just makes me shake my head. Barnes, the best player on the team. He is the leader of this team. Barnes has improved in different aspects of his game every year. I think I just said that. And now you all are saying that he isn't going to develop or get better. It's just sad. And really just shows how many of you just understand basketball on a surface level. Barnes is going to be the offensive hub going forward. He may not be the leading scorer, but he is their best passer and can do a lot of things on the floor. Can't wait until next season and makes you all eat your words. So this might be one of the worst comments I've ever read on my channel, just because I don't think like this comment seems like this user like did not watch the video that they commented on, because in the video I talked about Barnes not having the year we wanted him to have as the main scorer on offense. You know, his efficiency dropped quite a lot this season, and he struggled in certain aspects on offense. Like, that was pretty obvious. But I always say that, and I said it in the video that the user commented on, that he improved in a lot of other areas, especially defensively, and got a lot better on the defensive side of the floor. And I also said that Barnes was at his best for the Raptors playing alongside Pascal Siakam, where maybe he wasn't always the focal point as a scorer, but he could be the best player, and that led to him being an all-star in 2024. So basically what M. Tavares is mad about and is saying all the points that this user is trying to lay out, I have explicitly agreed with. If not in that specific video that the comment was on, I would have agreed with in other videos that I have done. So I don't really understand why this user coming onto my channel and trying to claim that this is the way I'm portraying Scottie Barnes, when it is absolutely the complete opposite. And I actually agree with a lot of the points that are in here. So I don't know where this comment comes from, but you know, apparently I'm hating on Scottie Barnes, and in this literally same comment section, I'm delusional for liking Scottie Barnes. So it is what it is. I think Scottie Barnes can be the best player without being the main scorer. That falls on Brandon Ingram, and I've been nothing but excited for Scottie Barnes to develop in the offseason and have a really good season next year. But hey, it is what it is. That's why we can do videos like this now. Next comment comes from, sorry, it's tough to read here, LandL47 says, I'm looking for progress next season, but we won't be a contender until Scottie is ready, and that's 3 years away. People are too impatient and don't look at history. Shea hasn't won a title yet, and he'll be 27 in July. When he was Scottie's age, OKC were 24 and 58. Steph, LeBron, MJ, all 27 when they won their first ring. Jokic was 28. It's tough out there, and while we do need a backup center, and won't win us a chip. Relax and enjoy the ride. Masai, Bobby, and Darko know what they're doing. So this is another really confusing comment, because it's on a video where I talked about what the Raptors need to do to make the playoffs next season. Not what they need to do to win a championship. Literally, like, I think in the first maybe 30 seconds of the video, I talked about specifically, I want the Raptors to be a top 6 seed. And I think that we could probably be a little disappointed they're not a top 6 seed. So they finished 6. Didn't mention anything about a championship. Didn't mention anything about, going deep in the playoffs. Just want to be in the playoffs. So this comment here talks about progress. I don't really know what progress looks like to them, but progress to me is the Raptors making the playoffs next season. I think if they miss the playoffs next year, it would feel like we haven't progressed at all. So this is a strange one to me, just because progress to me is making the playoffs. There's a lack of progress happening if the Raptors once again miss the playoffs for another year in a row here. So yeah, confusing. In a video, I didn't even bring up the Raptors winning a championship once. I just literally wanted to make the playoffs. But I'm being impatient, wanting to win right away. Like, no, I agree. Let's get some progress. Let's make the playoffs. Playoffs is progress to me. Next one comes from Joey Costello, 3117, says, love the willingness that RJ has to drive and attack the rim. Why the heck would any basketball fan want him to change that and start throwing up threes? I need some old school power basketball, man. So this is from the video where I talk about what needs to change for that to make the playoffs. And not one of the main points, but something that I did highlight in the video is that RJ, if he were to develop more as a three-point shooter and defender, would be a lot more useful to the Raptors. Didn't think that was a hot take, because I think any player who gets better at shooting threes and defense makes their team better, makes themselves better. But part of the way I laid it out is, look, you've got Barnes occupying like mid-range rim areas. You've got Ingram occupying a lot of mid-range areas. Not a lot of spacing on this Raptors team, especially with the projected starting 5 that I laid out in this video as well. Quickley, Barnes, Barrett, Ingram, Purtle. Like, there's just not a lot of floor spacing there. So if Barrett takes on a higher load of three-point shooting and it comes good, that's a lot more space for the main 2 guys in Barnes and Ingram to attack and play their game. The reality is RJ Barrett is just the worst of those 2 players. Like, RJ Barrett is either the 3rd, 4th, or 5th best player on the team. He is not Scottie Barnes. He's not Brandon Ingram. He's not higher than them in the offensive hierarchy. So what the Raptors are going to want to do is let Barnes and Ingram play their game And just the unfortunate reality, as good of a player as RJ Barrett is, he's not as good as them, so he has to cater his game around those other two guys. So that's why I think RJ Barrett could stand to improve more as a three-point shooter. And you know what? In RJ Barrett's postseason press conference, you know what RJ Barrett talked about improving? His three-point shooting and his defense. So RJ Barrett's in the same boat as me. Like the three-point shooting definitely could be something that really does help the Raptors. I like RJ Barrett's game, but he's not as good as Barnes. He's not as good as Ingram. Therefore, he has to cater his game around them for better or for worse. But like, if the Raptors want that lineup to work next season and Barrett's going to be here, like shooting would go a long way to helping. I like RJ Barrett's wrecking ball style of playing the paint too, but you know, this is 2025 NBA. Spacing, shooting is very important. If RJ can add that, it'd be great for the team. I feel too confrontational in this episode, but let's push on. 2 more comments to go here. Phil Gaps says, need Brandon Ingram, Immanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, all to shoot more threes as they are good. Move Scottie Barnes more to catch and shoot in the corner where he has been better, so his shot died. So, okay, quite a few typos here, but the gist of it is Phil Gaps wants Brandon Ingram, Immanuel Quickley, and RJ Barrett to shoot more threes, which I do agree with, and that helps with the spacing, which is kind of part of the point that I highlighted earlier. Like, I want Barrett to shoot more threes, but I also said in that video, I want Quickley to shoot more threes. Brandon Ingram is a good three-point shooter, but can he upgrade his volume? So everybody needs to shoot more threes, but in particular, RJ Barrett can really help out the team if he's shooting threes. But I agree with that. What I don't necessarily agree with is moving Scottie Barnes to a catch-and-shoot corner three stuff. It would be good if Barnes had that, it'd be great because he could, sit in the corner and catch and shoot threes, knock out, but he can also cut backdoor and cut to the rim and wreak havoc there. But Barnes needs to be really involved on the perimeter above the break, I think, for this team to really find a lot of success. And I think that's where we're going to get them. The bulk of the offense is going to come through that. So feels like a little wasteful having him in the corner, maybe in some sets, but there's nothing I've seen from Barnes' game that suggests like what does the comment here say? Where he has been better. There's nothing from watching Barnes that suggests to me that he's better shooting corner threes compared to other spots. So I don't necessarily agree with that, but I do agree that everyone just takes a little bit more shots, more threes. If they keep their efficiency, that would do a lot for the Raptors. And here we have the last comment here. We have P. Golly Gale. I wish I displayed names, not usernames. These are tough to read. But here's the comment. I think we're going to see a lot of combo lineups. 3 starters and a couple of bench pieces. The shooting off the bench needs to be consistent with Grady Dick, Ochai Agbaji, Jamison Battle, and Jacoby Walter, all above average from 3. Like you're saying, next year they all need to be above average from 3. I agree that is important for the Raptors. I think if the draft pick is 7th or worse, we are drafting a decent backup center. I agree. I do very much agree. If the Raptors are 7th or worse, it looks like they're eyeing up some centers, be it a guy like Kamen Malawash, but for the guys coming off the bench shooting threes. So this brings back to a point I've talked about a lot with Darko Rajakovic and the way that he uses his lineups. It has been a source of very great frustration watching some of the rotations with him as coach, because when it seems like you really need to stagger minutes and play these, this user alludes to it as combo lineups, when I call it like staggering minutes, Darko has very much consistently gone with mostly like starters on, and then Barnes comes off early, bench player comes in, and then all the starters come off, not at once, but like relatively quickly, and then it's 4 bench players plus Scottie Barnes on the floor. I call it the 4+1 lineups. I don't know what other people call it, but so consistently, the Raptors, like early on this season when they were trying to win games, would completely fumble the games in those minutes where they had the 4+1 lineups, 4 bench players and Scottie Barnes. And it just blows my mind that for 2 seasons, we've kind of struggled with this. And very clearly, to me, in the games where we staggered minutes better, didn't ever have at one point in the game 4 bench players on the floor at the same time. Like, we looked better in those games. So it is astonishing to me that after 2 full seasons, we still see 4+1 lineups to such a consistent degree. So I do agree with this comment here very much. I do agree that if we're staggering minutes, it'll be a lot better. We're doing these quote-unquote combo lineups, we're going to be doing a lot better. But for Darko Rajakovic, I have no idea if he is willing or capable of putting these lineups together, because 2 full seasons now, there hasn't been evidence that he has a desire to do this. He wants to put his starters together as much as possible, and he is willing to sacrifice those bench minutes to have 4 bench players on at the same time in order to do that. I very much think for next season, with the lineups as is, that mindset needs to change, but we will just have to wait and see.